Ciao everyone, and welcome to the second part of the Arts of Recording Drums. In this tutorial, we're going to analyze the multi-track recording we did last time in order for you to understand truly how important each single microphone is in order to create an amazing sound of your drum kit. Before we start, I thought it was a good idea to talk a little bit about signal flow. In other words, when you choose a microphone, you don't only choose a microphone because you have it. The microphone is nonetheless like a color palette that shall help you to kind of like recreate and enhance the sound color of an instrument. Now, the first thing you want to do is asking yourself, why do we have so many microphones in a studio? Well, the reason is each single microphone has a specific frequency response. Specific frequency response that works in conjunction with the type of instrument we're going to be recording. So in essence, if we pay a lot of attention with the type of microphone we're going to be using, the frequency response that this microphone has, we're going to be using the best combination of microphones that might suit best our instrument. In order to already, out of default, start pre-mixing our instrument. You know, as a recording engineer, your job is not simply pressing the record button and that's it, your job is done. It's to carefully analyze what does that specific instrument requires in order for you to choose the right microphone that will best suit that specific sound, that will transduce the best sound quality to our tape machine, or in this case, our Pro Tools rig. So the first thing I'm going to do is start breaking down a little bit the signal flow. And as a general rule of thumb, I always suggest you to write it down when you're in a studio prior to your recording, a very detailed list of the microphone you're using, and then subsequently of the signal path. So what I have over here, I have listed all my 24 inputs, and right next to it, I've started labeling the parts of the kit that I would have record. The way I did it is in a chronological order. What does it mean? I start from the most important part of the kit, which for me is the kick drum. So I have kick drum, snare drum, hat, tom. After my toms, I'm gonna start moving to the ambience microphone. So my overheads. After I've done all my overheads, I move towards the close room, far room, and then since I had few extra inputs, I thought, well, might as well experimenting with few extra microphone techniques. Nonetheless, my favorite one, which I call it the trash microphone, which we're going to discuss later on. So what I have over here, I have from number 1 to 24 all my drum kit elements. So what you want to do is, again, the same number I have here right next to the instrument will correspond to the same number I will have on my console. So number 1, kick in. On my SSL, I will have on channel 1 my internal kick microphone. Now, next to the instrument, I have actually labeled the type of microphone I've used. So for the kick in, I used the Bayer M88. Sub kick, my sub kick from Salomon. Then I start with snare top, 441, snare bottom, 57, rack tom, 421, floor tom, another 421. Then if you watch the previous tutorial, you're going to notice that we use multiple stereo microphone techniques. So I have multiple stereo overheads techniques. I'm going to start with my first XY and have labeled here what type of microphone techniques I've used. So overhead left, overhead right, KM184, KM184, XY. Then right next to it, I have space pair, overhead left and right, my Royer 122, and then I have my Glyn Jones, which is constituted of one mono overhead and one side overhead. And for the mono overheads, I used the Royer 121 ribbon microphone and a U87. Then we move towards the closed room, where I have my mono room, our U47. The pair of Bloom Lane microphone, where I use two pair of stereo 414. And then we move to the mid side, where I have a Schweppes as a mid and another 414 XLS for the side. We move on channel 19 and 20, where I have my pair of tube microphone, the M149 tube microphones. To then conclude with our experimental microphones, where we have on channel 21 our trash microphone, And on channel 22 and 23, we're gonna have our TLM 103 and TLM 103, which I've used to nonetheless record the close room reflection of the floor behind the baffle. After that, what I did was writing right next to the type of microphone we have over here, the exact tie line input we used. Because again, we're connecting an instrument which is sitting in the live room, and we need to pick up the signal from the patch bay. So as you can see, the patch bay from this picture, it's a giant, spaghetti ball, which makes zero sense unless you have a clear order written down. So as you can see here, the numbers start going from not a chronological order. So I have my kick in, where we plugged it into a tie line, the microphone input 9. So from the patch bay, we're taking the output from channel 9 and sending it wherever we want. So the outputs over here corresponds to the patch bay outputs, and right next to it, I put the different mic pre's I've used for the kit. So even though we have a beautiful SSL in the studio, I generally try to pick different preamplifiers, especially for drums, because of the way they sound. So going back to whatever we discussed before, we are engineering a record, right? So engineering a record doesn't only mean pressing record, but it means carefully measuring the distance of where you're going to be placing the microphone, carefully choosing the microphone that has the correct frequency response that will work best for your instrument, and associating that microphone to a preamplifier that will have, again, a specific frequency response, and the combination between coloration of the preamplifier plus microphone plus position plus, of course, the instrument shall give you perhaps the sound that you have in mind. So for our kick-in, we have used a Neve 5024. The sub kick goes straight into our SSL. For the snare top, we use the second channel of the Neve 5024. For the snare bottom, we're going into the SSL. Hi-hat feeds the SSL, and so do the tom and the floor tom. Now for the overheads, since we were recording a pair of overheads that were very bright, what I decided to do was feeding them into, again, the 5024 by Neve, which already right out of the bath kind of like darken up a little bit the sound, because the first pair of overheads have been recorded in XY with two Neumann KM184, which are very bright. So we're using very bright microphones on top of a cymbal, or the cymbals we use that were very bright. So I needed something to kind of like balance the amount of brightness, creating a little bit of more of a darker slope, so to speak. For the space pair, where we use two ribbon, the R22, I sent them into the TG2, which does a great job. I think the combination between ribbon microphone and the Chandler create a very deep sound of our drum kit. So considering that the overheads have been placed 4 feet height above the drum kit, again, the TG2 does a great job in not accentuating a lot of the harshness of the cymbals, but bringing up a lot of the sound of the drums. I did an extra process on the overheads. I passed these space pair through a Neve 33609, and the way I did it was kind of like to hyper accentuate the space that intercurve between the instrument and the actual microphones, and to bring up a little bit more of the air and the kind of like the air movement between the kit and the microphones. And I'm gonna let you hear how great this sounds. Moving forward, I have my mono ribbon microphone, the R21, and it's going into an API 3124. The side, of course, since I'm using stereo techniques, though, is no coincidence that I'm using two different microphones for the Glyn Jones techniques. I'm using the R21 and the U87. They're both feeding an API 3124. To then move into my mono room, our U47, which feeds our Vintech 73. Now, Vintech is a phenomenal pre, which is an emulation of the Neve 1073. So right out of the default, we already have a very colorful, extremely colorful microphone that feeds a preamplifier that kind of like brings up a lot of that low mid range that we want from our mono room. And then, if I remember correctly, I think I patched this mono room into our 1176 with all 4 buttons in, creating a hyper ratio. So as you're going to hear it, the U47 will sound a little bit squashed. After that, we got our 2 closed room, the Bloom Lane, the 414, which are both feeding the API 3124. Then moving to all the other stereo room mics. So we have mid-side and far left and far right. The Neumann, they're all feeding the SSL. And so we'll do the trash microphone and the 2-floor tom. So as you can understand, with this in mind, right now as an engineer, I already know what type of sound I should expect from the recording that I got. So right now I know exactly what part of the kit was mic'd with what microphone. I know exactly how this microphone sounds, and I know exactly what the result is going to be of the combinations between this microphone and this preamplifier. So we don't have anything else to do than actually listen carefully and choose whatever microphone would work best for our recording. So without any further ado, what I'm going to do right now is jumping back into Pro Tools, because what I did right now was filming actually the drummer performing while we were tracking down this multitrack, so that you could have a visual representation of actually the drummer slamming the drums, and we could actually isolate each single microphone in order for you to listen the effect that this microphone has. We're going to start analyzing closed microphones first, and then we're going to moving to the overheads and then the rooms. I'm going to start balancing all the microphones. Right out of the bat, all the faders are at 0. So the volume that you're going to be hearing, it's a very careful blend that we did, leaving all the faders at 0. And by default, if you're ready with your fader at 0, you have a very clear sound of drums. That means that you're already in a good ballpark. So the only thing you're left to do is balancing a little bit closed microphone versus ambience microphone to obtain the best sounds. So the drums were performed by Jake Chouljian, which was our session player for today, phenomenal drummer. I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek of the recording, and then we're gonna start dissecting microphone by microphone, listening carefully of the effect that each microphone has on the kit. So I'm gonna move into Pro Tools so that you could look at the performer and also listen to the performance. Little disclaimer, it would be great if you would start using a great pair of headphones so that you can capture with greater details exactly how each single microphone sounds. All right, let's jump into Pro Tools. So as you can see here, I have my session with all my 24 microphones and our little video track. I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of this recording, and then we're gonna start, as I said before, analyzing the closed microphones. All right, so now that you got an understanding of what we're talking about, let's move and analyze each single layer. I'm gonna start with our kick drum. So the kick drum, it's a blend of 2 microphones. We have an M88 and a Solomon sub kick. So I'm gonna let you hear the overall drum kit, and then I'm gonna solo the 2 microphones. Before I do that, I'm gonna move into our mix window, so you can have a little bit of a representation of what I'm going to be doing once I'll blend in the 2 sounds. I'm going to solo the kick drum. So right now what you were hearing, or what you were listening to, were the sound of the sub kick and the inside kick microphone, so the M88. I'm gonna move it to another shot where you can see better what the M88 is seeing. Listen to the difference between when the entire drum kit is playing, so when all the microphones and the panoramic microphones are open, and once I'm gonna solo the kick drum, how the kick drum doesn't give us this effect of hugeness. It's actually rather tight with a lot of attack, but it doesn't give us the impression of being in the exact same room as the drummer. So I'm gonna unsolo the kick. I'm gonna let you hear to the overall sound of the drum kit, and then I will re-solo the kick drum to let you hear the difference between ambience and panoramic versus proximity microphones. So again, especially when it comes to miking, proximity microphone or closed microphones are only going to give us a lot of information in terms of the attack, the punch, the transient. They do not give us a lot of information about the size. The size gets recreated through the usage of panoramic and ambience microphone, which are going to help us giving us a little bit more of the widening of the sound, and the third dimensionality is a little bit more depth. So again, thinking that you could capture the overall tone of a sound just placing a microphone close to the instrument, that is completely a wrong approach. It's the exact same reason as right now you're listening to my voice, and let's pretend we're in the same room. If I would come really close to you, other than being extremely creepy, the tone of my voice would sound completely different. So I'm gonna start bringing up a lot of the low end, a lot of the rumble given from the proximity effect. What we need to be able to capture with our microphones is, yes, a lot of directivity of the sound that will help us to kind of like increment the intelligibility of the instrument within the mix, so our proximity microphones. But a huge part of the sound comes from the actual reflections that this instrument has with the surfaces of the room. That's why we use so many overheads microphone, and especially the sound of the drum is actually made up with room microphones. Anyhow, let's start analyzing the sound of the kick drum here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to let you hear the two microphones one by one. I'm gonna start with the inside kick. Sub kick. So as you can hear, both microphones have a completely different frequency response. Now the M88 is pointing right at the beater, because with this microphone what I wanted to grab was exactly the attack that I could only get, carefully listening and positioning the microphone, but 9 times out of 10 by having the microphone facing exactly where the beater is going to hit is gonna already give you a lot of the attack within the transient. The sub kick, though it's placed outside of the kick drum, approximately 2-3 fingers away from the skins, it's picking up only the lowest octave of this instrument. So as a microphone is nonetheless an inverted speaker cone. So it's not picking up a lot of the room sounds. It's only focusing on what this membrane is seeing. If I would play you back the sub kick, you would notice that there is not a lot of bleeding from the overall room nor from the other part of the drums. Very muffled. So by default right now I have two different sounds that are pretty much EQ differently, so I can create my overall drum kick sounds by deciding the right blend between these two.